All right, family. All right. Peace to the family out there. Let me make sure. I don't know if my audio's no. Thank you for your patience. We are now live. Black Magic 363. We are now live, family. We about to get
Legend.
before we do, as always, family, get comfortable, hit the like button. Um, tell your friends and family we are now live. Got a few announcements before we get started, but in the meantime, we'll be right back after this brief commercial break, family.
Are you ready to win? Are you seeking the best in life? Are you seeking to raise your vibration? Are you seeking to no longer drift, but move gently towards your goals? Billy Carson and myself will be presenting sacred information about finances, how to be wealthy, how to be healthy, be wise. Many people have been asking, what is God power? God power is when you are now co-creating your life. You're living life on purpose. You're not waiting for things to happen. You're making things happen. You're letting go of the past, letting go of the things that were holding you back, letting go of the things that were heavy in your life, and raising your vibration and taking everything you have and moving it towards a destination. You are a winner. You were born a winner. It's time to tap into the winning circle. Become the winner's circle. You are the champion. All you need is the blueprint for the God power that's already in you.
Yeah, that commercial got me hyped too for the 7th, y'all. I hope y'all got y'all tickets. They're selling fast, so I would advise you to get it as soon as possible, but it's definitely going down. We got AA Rashid in the building tonight. AA, welcome to the show, my brother.
Peace and love, family.
Let me give me about 5 minutes. Let me do something real quick, AA, then we're gonna start. All right.
Hell yeah.
All right, family. So I got some a magnificent person, an anonymous person, donated 3 tickets for the workshop to the family. Why is it so dark in here? So I'm gonna be doing a giveaway. So yeah, 3 tickets. I got 3 tickets. That's how important this workshop is. People like, yo, I want to donate 3 tickets. A wonderful soul to do something like that. Shout out to that individual who's remaining anonymous. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to figure out one of the ways to give out the 3 tickets that I have. And of course I want to give it to the people who support and who's a regular viewer of the channel, who show love and into the information. Got my tickets. Okay, yeah, a lot of y'all got the tickets, but let me ask y'all this: who remembers, since we got AA on the line, who remembers Bobby Hemmett? Bobby Hemmett gave an elixir. The first person, I doubt, probably none of y'all will know this, but Bobby Hemmett used to have an elixir. He used to spit out 3 ways to these 3 sisters, Otisha, Tiasia, and something else. I forget the name, but it was a combination of different spirits. Does anybody know the spirits that Bobby? Yeah, it was 3 sisters. Does anybody know the spirits that Bobby used? He used to call it the elixir. Does anybody know the spirit? If somebody, I want to see if somebody, even if y'all got come close, I might. I don't know, but let me see. Y'all gotta tell me the names. I see. Yeah, it was Jen. Let me see. Uh, no, it wasn't. Let me see. You know what?
Thank you, baby.
I'm gonna give this first. Let me see. Somebody gonna be bad. Like I said it first, motherfucker. Um, Saint Remy LeBeau in the chat. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you the first ticket. Saint Remy LeBeau. Um, text. I mean, put in your chat your email. Saint Remy LeBeau. LeBeau. I'm gonna give it to you. No, it was a Devil Spring. That wasn't that. I think that was for something else, Kareem. The Devil Spring. I think that was something else, Kareem. But it was definitely gin because he had me in my room. I'm living with my mom. I'm like, bad young. I got gin and shit, Dick. Spit it three ways and shit. Wait for something to appear, shit like that. Saint Ray LeBeau. But give me your did you put it in the chat? Then we're gonna get started. Yeah, Saint Remy LeBeau. In the put your email in the chat. You taking a long time. We got to get started. I don't want to miss it. Or I could just put Tiajo, Tija, Shayola. Yeah. Those are the 3 names. Yeah. Y'all from back in the days for sure. All right. So you didn't put your email. I'll just put my email. Email me when you get a chance, and I'll let you know what you got to do to get your ticket. You didn't put your email. Maybe you don't have one. I don't know. To the individual Saint LeBeau or whatever the individual's name is, email me. Oh, you put it like 3 times? Where you put it? See this chat. All right, let me just get this email and then we're gonna start. Let me see. We're gonna start the show, family. Saint Remy. Let me see. Yeah, this chat be moving. Everybody writing down the names now, but you got it. Let me see. Let me scroll up. We about to get started now, yo. Give me a second. Gratitude. I see the gratitude. I see when you wrote gratitude, bro. I see that. I do not see it. You got to get started with the show. Um, hmm. Yeah, just email me. I do not see it. I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling. I see when you wrote gratitude, bro, but I do not see it. You're gonna have to email. Have to get started. Uh, yeah, we'll figure it out. Um, yeah. So hit me on the email, and we'll figure it out. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna just email you. Yeah, hit me on the email. They can't put email in the chat because they think it's spam. That's why I don't see it. They think it's spam, so it's not you putting it, but they're not seeing it. Yeah, email me. All right. All right. Hey, you ready, my brother? I got so that let me write that. Yeah, I got 2 more tickets, and once again, shout out to the individual who donated these 3 tickets. But the workshop is that important, family. Hey, man, listen. It's a pleasure to have you back on here, my brother.
Thank you.
You help unlock a lot of mysteries for us, a lot of the esoteric teachings that are probably too complicated for the average mind to understand, and you help us to understand it. You help us to understand who we are as an eternal being. You help us to understand who we are on an inner level, and you help us to once we hear you talk, we're able to pick up certain books that we could never pick up, and we could interpret it. We can understand those books now because you done broke it down a certain way where it makes sense to us, my brother. So having these shows where you break down esoteric topics is always a pleasure, my brother. um in terms of King Solomon's temple, these characters we hear in the Bible, King Solomon, and it's King Solomon's temple. You think about Freemasonry, and the younger you are, the more you're confused about Freemasonry because you think it's evil. You think everybody's an agent. You think everybody's a sellout? You know, little do they know all of our greats was Freemason because they had to be to get certain information at one time, whether it was Elijah Muhammad, and we could just go on down the line. But there's a lot of confusion with that in general Freemasonry. But just in terms of the symbolism that they use, people are like, well, what does that mean? What does the compass and the square? What do the pillars mean? What does that mean? So, my brother, you always had a great way of explaining things. So it's good to have you on the show. But talk to us tonight, my brother. I'm gonna let you do your thing about what exactly, from an esoteric perspective, we hear so much about King Solomon's temple. Help unlock these keys in our DNA, my brother. What's King Solomon's temple from an esoteric level? Help us to understand that, my brother.
Well, I'm going to reverse engineer it and use your last word that you said, DNA.
Yes, sir.
So King Solomon's temple, the portico, or the what I call the porch, is DNA. So now we can reverse engineer what we just said by understanding the human need to create symbols, you know? So humans desire to create symbols to give them power over things that's external to them, and give them control over the circumstances surrounding their life. So tonight I'm gonna be speaking in a multitudinous amount of ways, because you mentioned the term masonry, and that's one way we will speak tonight. But unfortunately, if I speak that way, it's not, people are not going to understand what I talk about if I say on the sixth day of the week at the 6th hour in the middle chamber to understand what the temple is. But I will say things that can assist people to understand that when you speak of esoterics, we're using a term that's not an ancient one. Esoteric means essentially something that's hidden, you know, or covered. Well, we can also say that it's something that's not overt, or it's not meant to be written down. It's meant to be passed from mouth to ear. So when we speak of King Solomon's temple, we, as in us who were speaking, we got to be very aware that there's a romance with our culture, and that we appear in literature in various ways as other people attempt to find themselves. So a part of the narrative is to find themselves. They will include us in narratives to include them into the narrative with us, to say that they are in an extension of our narrative. So I'll use this term tonight a few times: cultural morphology. Over time, things that you've been doing or terms that you've heard, you don't know where they came from. So here's a term, and I'll start in the reverse engineering model, and then we're going to go to architecture, then we're going to go to Africa. But I want to start here. I want to start in Mesopotamia with this term called Silamu. And the Akkadians and Sumerians were notoriously known for creating dual terms. There are words for the letters employed in describing the thing described that are totally different. So there's a very significant part of their culture that appears very African and ancient, in that they desire, Sumerians and Akkadians, desire to know where the left and the right was. So when I tell people about the 6th day of the week at the 6th hour in the middle chamber, when I speak to those people who understand what I just said, they know that there's nothing in the north. Anything in the north is cold there. things start in the Northeast. But now we get this desire to know what's the direction. So there are words in the Sumerian. There's this word called Geb, and Geb means left. But then the alternate term for Geb, for left, is Silamu, like Salamu. So the word Solomon, the term phonetically, Solomon comes from an ancient phonetic imprint describing directionality. It describes the direction from which your peace will derive. So now, if I say Assalamu alaikum to you, I'm wishing upon you, and peace is not a word in our ancient languages. Peace doesn't do salamu or salam any real due diligence or value. Salamu means perfect or to perfect, or it acts like a verb, and it's something from an actual act. It's an actual participation. So some people will be upset because they want a historical story about a man named Solomon who they may think existed. And I don't want to take that away from nobody neither, because people need their imagination, you know? Children need to believe in Santa Claus until they figure it out when it's time for them to be buy gifts. You heard? Then they understand why, why in the lack of understanding, the symbols speak to you on the level that you at. So I can't go downstairs and raise you up. I can only describe to you what I know and hope that you have enough references to understand what I'm saying. So King Solomon's temple can be several things. If we were to speak about it physically, let's say this, that if there was such a thing, let's go to the literature where it was spoken of. And I do these lives with you, Rich, and this one in particular, I prepared today. And I bought some books to show. This book right here, The Mystery of the Great Zimbabwe. If there was a King Solomon's temple, it was argued amongst the scholars of that day. In this book, it speaks about the pilgrims who was fighting amongst themselves scholastically, as one said that when they went to the ruins of this complex, where this great wall, the cylindrical wall, and this amazing feat of architectural foundation was at, they found that they said that this must be the location of King Solomon's temple. So I'm not arguing away pilgrims saying that King Solomon's temple is in the continent. I would undermine my own self to do so. I will also add, though, that is one of the several narratives to describe if there was such a thing where it would be. Another narrative is it's the Dome of the Rock. And that is the location where the rock pillow from the prophet who dreamed of his genetic and ancestral destiny occurred. So I'm like, we get all of these little small nuances to tell us roundabout what is this thing that we're talking about. So I've read the books, I've studied, and I would say this to burst the bubble of illusion, that humans have traditions of outright cleaving to myths that it appears as though they're lying. They are instances where you find people who claim to be relatives of pseudo-epigraphic figures and or monarchy figures, and you find people telling the same, in quotations, lie exactly 1,000 years apart. So it tells you something about humans, that they will create personages that are connected to traditions that are long forgotten, but they maintain a connection to the tradition by cleaving to a myth and saying that they're relatives of the personages in the myth. You heard? So when we go back to the 6th day in the middle chamber for the payment for creating a temple not made by human hands, and you speak like that, you're speaking to another group of people who may not be looking to find historicity in where or who King Solomon is. They know it to be a system of thought, a practice of thinking that challenges the human to remember things. So we have palaces. I remember one time in my youth trying to be fake mad at my daddy. And I told my father, I said, man, what did you leave me? And my father told me a biblical verse. And my daddy was born in 1949. I respect my father. My father, it's his genes that allows me to think and perceive myself to be an artist. My father told me, I have given you many mansions. You heard? And then I said like this, I said, okay, I see what you're saying, because I process that in a space that I can process it. So when I tell you that King Solomon, the word Melech, Maliki, can over time have been maligned and misunderstood. Because if you go to the book of Kings and you go look at how do you say kings in Hebrew, and this is where the story of Solomon is, and you go there and you go look and you say, how do you say war and you say king at the same time? It employs the same word. So war in ancient psychology dealt with sorcery. So the book of Kings, where this personage that you think is a person, is a word that continues to change its meaning. Solomon also means, see, and they're saying it all wrong. You anglicize things. So you get new myths when you anglicize. So there's a group of people listening right now who've read a lot of esoteric books, and they going, no, Rashid, Solomon is Sol, on. It's the sun, meditation, and the ancient word for the moon, or it's 3 words of vibration. And no, these are ancient Akkadian and Sumerian tools of phonetic imprints that teach you the direction in time and space to enact the ability to control the circumstances surrounding your life. Life is an edifice created with bricks quarried without any tools. You could not hear them as they were chiseling and quivering away at the temple structure, allowing you to actually edifice, live within the context of your ambition. So I'll give you another narrative of what King Solomon is. King Solomon is 3 chambers. And this is very, very, very important. And let me share this with you. This is this is some good shit right here. Because I got a lot to share with you, and I'm going to show you this, that these terms that we employ describing a temple, we're describing an architectural edifice that encompasses 3 locations. Now, what's the central location of the edifice? Is called the Heikel. And the Heikel, the term, it equals Heikel. First is the Ulam. If y'all write this down. King Solomon's temple it's composed of 3 sacred spaces. Now, the Ulam is the porch. The Ulam has something that all things in the physical world have. They have a right and left. They have pillars upon them. Many occultists and esoteric minded teachers have over many years have employed the contextual framework to understand that the Ulam, or the portico, the porch, also represents the area of what is called the awlem in Arabic. If Muslims are not supposed to show their stomach. Yeah, you're supposed to cover your awlem from your belly button down to your knees. That is a sacred space on your body. That represents the portico, or the foundation that you have with the physical world. Now, that term awlem equals a specific number. It equals the number 77. But 77 also equals this other number as well. You heard? That other number is another term is Boaz. So thus appropriately, we have a portico, a pillar. And if you look at the portico of the only temple that you ever occupy, the first temple that you ever occupy, if you were to be born out of the temple that you were born into, and then reverse the camera, switch the camera, turn around, and then look at the temple that you just came out of, you will see 2 pillars on the porch. And you will also see over it, you see another edifice. It would look like the entryway into a masjid or a temple or a church. Looks like a portal. So then under that, there's the Heikel, and the Heikel equals the number 65, right? And then that, if this was a vaginal orifice, and you familiar with them, if you know about them, you know that they have chambers in them just like a temple would, correct? You know that at the back of the temple is what they call the sanctum sanctorum. And that's how you got here. In the deeper recesses of the sanctuary of your mama, you heard? So they call that part the debir, and the number gematrially of the farthest part inside of that edifice where you find pleasure is the equal of the number 216. I'm reverse. Listen, this is, if people really want to know how far this goes with me, you buy the books. It's in my books. Yeah, I really goes there. So the number 216 equals the term debir. But how, when you say the word debir, you know this because you hear this term when it comes to diamonds. Yeah, you know this. They say diamonds are connected to marriage, and then if you read ancient midrash concerning King Solomon, they often say that his bed was his temple as well. And this is why we have the Songs of Solomon. So there's an interlocking story using gematria, numeric factors, and all that. But what's another term connected to the number 216? The term is called Yara. So I want to go above people's head. I'm speaking to my students. I'm speaking to the people that really want to buy the books, Promise you.
Keep
So
going, brother. You going in, my brother. Keep going.
listen, listen. So when you talk about Solomon, you speaking about if this was a physical personage, this is somebody that had to go use the iconography and the architecture of a personage who is the hero of Freemasonry. His name is Hiram. And Hiram means Chiram means it means an elevated location. You heard? It's an elevated location. So thus Hiram or Hiram, life on high, would represent in a means by which, like, to understand, like, if you so deep and you conscious, say you know everything in your all of your knowledge is would be in like an apple cloud, so to speak. So in order for you to prove yourself in the world of the Maliku, you would have to envisage or place it inside with the Malikut, the work, to make it in the Malkuth, in the kingdom. So you have dimensions for this stuff. So the place that the trestle board, where you create the buildings and the edifices that you live in, is not in the minds of other people. It's actually in the memory work of your own mind.
Mm.
So shout out to the young people who have been using hip hop to get their 120. Hip hop gives you nuances of ancient specifics pertaining to the Timbuktu narrative. We read, we recite, and we remember. We got 3 R's: read, recite, and remember. So reading, reciting, and remembering, and excuse me, I add a 4th R, but a W-R, writing. Read, recite, remember, write. That's how we control the world, right? So King Solomon is a system. It's a system that deals with the memory palace, the loci. So if me and you share a culture and I come to you and I say, yo, I have an idea on how we can build something, we did not trade and give each other blueprints. We gave each other oral traditions based off of our narrative of the cosmic design surrounding us. We come from an ancient people that didn't need books. So now we're in the era where people are using books to try to find themselves within our story. How can you do that when I have a story that didn't need a book? You see? So my story is in designs. You see my story in the Greek key. Versace took my story. Louis Vuitton took my checkerboard and made it the damier. You know, they play around with my the brigette. They can cut the diamond and make it look like it's in a circle, like an arch degree. It's a lot of games you could play with my story. However, you can't actually play with reality. You heard? So it's a very interesting tale when you speak about how there's a whole business about trying to hide who I am. For 30 years, they had pilgrims fighting with each other, King, trying to say that we never had no accomplishments. Everywhere that they went, they romanticized and tried to find the richest people with the edifices. And then they was like this, oh, King Solomon's Mines is in Great Zimbabwe. You heard? So that's on that level. So now, when you transfer the term 216, which is a numeric number, shout out to the numerologist, shout out to King Simon. Hopefully, I want to say, I want to I want to speak again to the numerology in that respect and be kind to it. And we need a numbers conference. You know what I'm saying? So we could teach each other and share within a tradition of numbers. But I show you something. Numbers don't become nothing until you make buildings, because numbers don't have shadows. So you can't do magic until you make the number occupy the world where shadows are casted. So we used to know that we could control anything in the physical world that casts a shadow. Numbers can be used to control things that cast a shadow. But now you got to understand this about this is why I went to Art Basel. Art Basel is the most important event in the Americas because you are in the same circle with art that has created the dialogue in the realm that you live in, and you can be a very close proximity participant. You could go and sell your $100 piece next to $100 million piece. So I say all this to say that Art Basel, ironically, occurs in one of the areas where the Bermuda Triangle, one of the points is at. They got Haitians and Cubans on what appears or feels like you in a peninsula surrounded by water. Miami is magical. What's the best place ever than to put art? So what's connecting the hand to the mind with the he? So another term for 216, which is the sanctum, the deepest part of King Solomon's temple is it. The word equals fear, yara, yara. But how do you spell this fear? The components, the key component, the prefix root of the word in the uniliteral is the yod, and the hand controls 25% of the next letter, the or the most prominent one, the resh. So yara, yod, aleph, resh, he equal fear, yod 10, he 5, 15, aleph 16, resh 216, yara, which equals fear. And I tell you this is inside the book of Proverbs. It says fear, it says God is a man of war. You heard? And when you get into what war is, then you understand what the book of Kings is. The book of Kings, where they speak of Solomon, is really not what you think it is. It's mistranslation, with all due respect. The book of Kings should be the book of Malikama. Malikama means war. And our people were always not only proponents of war, but acknowledged that war was an ongoing endeavor between humans, and that humans are the most advanced, have the most advanced brains on the planet. First of all, there's more neurons in your brain than it is stars in the known universe that you can occupy, right? You are the only people in this known universe who can look at animals, envisage animals, know their behavior, and create deities off of their behavior. The deity, what you call animals have yet to create a deity out of you. So I'm like this, you very lucky to be in this quadrant of the universe and to be speaking to somebody that can bring all of these concepts into focus. So now I want you to also be aware of this. The word Solomon in Islamic parlance, it speaks about a group of numbers. And this number, if we were to take Solomon's name and write it out in gematria, he does have a tetragrammaton. It has 4 letters, although it doesn't have binary function. Solomon's name is spelled, my students as masters, they're already spelling it while I'm saying it. Sholima, Shin, Lamed, Mim, He. We know the He to be the paragogic He, the point of emphasis. It's like putting what's them shits, an exclamation mark after LOL to make it really funny, you know, or really emphasize. But Shalom, Shalima, it means the fashion to perfect, and it also means the left side, Shalima. So now this is very interesting that out of the prophets that you hear about in the function of the biblical narrative, the one who has the most closest affinity to females is Solomon. He has a whole nother book called the Song of Solomon, where the bridal chamber is akin to and similar to the temple structure. So he is also connected to David, and David is connected to marriage and war, if you look at that narrative as well. So we deconstructing and recalibrating the narrative to understand these symbols in a different way. So we speak in English, trying to find ourselves post-slavery. You're trying to find you're looking at chains, collar chains, wrist chains. They had chains on your collar, your wrist, and your feet, and you're looking at the chains trying to find freedom in them. You heard? And you're doing it with a narrative, but now you got to go back to your continent to go see who was the one that taught everybody which way is left, right. Who taught you which way is up and down? So shout out to the Islamic paradigm. They have taught us that, and this is an excellent book. This is Idris Shah, Oriental Magic. This is on Sufism. And we have very important, as you can see, you see this magic square. There's a series of 9 chambers in this. And here we have the numbers employed, right? And my students know this, that when we speak of degree work, my other students who have been initiated, they know about the steps. They know about the lights. They know about the orders and the sevens, 3 5s and the sevens. They are unaware. They very knowing of what is going on. But when you look at this magic square and you look at the center, which would be the middle chamber, you see these numbers 3, 5, and 7. So Sholima equals 375. Now, this is very interesting with numerology on a cosmic and the spiritual gematria level, is that there's space for jumbling numbers. This is why I love 3-digit and 4-digit numbers, to coalesce them and place them on physical things to manipulate the thing, that the nuanced manipulation of you association. See, this is the thing with this. All this shit is all semantics. If you don't have references, you can't control that which casts a shadow. So you should be able to throw a semantic reference on top of something that you seek to control that casts a shadow, in order for you to have a say-so in the outcome of how that thing that you concentrate on has an effect on you. So what is King Solomon's temple if it's not an idea or a litany of ideas or a series of processes in which to control the circumstances surrounding one's existence? So if you know where the northeast corner is, and you know what the northeast corner is, then you know what the northeast corner is. You know what light and dark look like when combined. And thus, if you ever get the opportunity to make an actual building, you will begin where lightness and dark begin, in the northeast corner. So if you know what what they call them, what's that uh what's that when you could fight with your right hand? A southpaw. If you know what a southpaw shows you that your right hand is in the south if you're looking towards the east. You heard?
Deep,
So that
deep.
means so that means it tells you that if I start fighting with my right, they call me a southpaw, and my right hand is in the south while I look east, that means that my left hand is in darkness of the north. So this is the meaning of when they say you coming from the left-hand path. So now, Islamically, they have used this term Solomon to summon jinns. And this is why you have the pilgrims with these books, the lesser and the greater keys of Solomon.
Right.
These are little crumbs that they have. They did not understand totally what it is that we did, so that they only use bits and pieces of what they can gather and understand. It's in their books, bro. This is one of my favorite books. This author is amazing. Joshua Trachtenberg. Jewish Magic and Superstition. Body, super body. He speaks about the medieval medicine was a curiously indiscriminate compound of science and such superstition as we have been describing. The Greek, Arab, Jewish tradition itself, well freighted with a large residuum of early magic, provided nonetheless a fairly scientific foundation upon which the European peoples superimposed their own ancient folk notions and nostrums until the whole made a most imposing and fearsome structure. So you find throughout time that the meaning of things changed. We originally introduced into the realm of sorcery the left in the right direction. The When someone says to you, if you're not Muslim, if you say assalamu alaikum, this is how Muslims can actually be, like, if they want to be passive aggressive to you and they be like, oh, you're non-Islamic, and you say assalamu alaikum to a praying Muslim and they say wa alaikum, that means that they're not wishing you the direction of peace because they don't believe that you're participating in Islam the same way they are. And unbeknownst, they don't know that this is an extension of Sumerian, which is Akkadian, which is West African sorcery. That if someone says, assalamu alaikum, I wish peace upon you, I wish the left side to you, I wish the source from which knowledge or the darker secrets or the thing where peace protects you comes from, and they say no, they say this, they say this to non-Muslims. They say walaikum danukum waliyaladin, to you be your way, to me be mine, meaning that they're giving you a different direction away from peace, bro. You heard? So peace does not mean that, oh, like people think that if you're weak and you don't do stuff that you're a good person. Nah, weakness that doesn't do stuff can still be foul. You don't have a moral compass, so you don't know what to do to stand on nothing because you don't know the directions in the universe. You don't know that if you get too peaceful, you turn into food. You know that? You get too warlike, you get turned into food. So there's like a balance in the human experience. King Solomon's temple is a balance in the human experience. You see? So now Malikim, if you look at the term, if you go look at the word Solomon appears in Proverbs 11:1 as the word for perfection. They don't change the spelling or nothing. You heard? It's the same deity, the same personage, the same person. It's the same place. So we had our people have a preoccupation. Rich, I'm telling them, the one of the books that I really go there is in the Dog Star Hip Hop. I go and I tell them, and even I reiterate this inside of part 2 as well. In the Dog Star Hip Hop, the Kabbalistic imagination of A.A. Rashid, I say, by orientation of one looking east, they establish what are the right and the left sides. The term southpaw, referring to right-handed boxers, relays the idea that when one faces east, their right side is south, while their left is north. If the left side is north, the eagle on the dollar is looking to the southern sky. in adoration and praise, and in so doing, the eagle is channeling the southern sky complex of celestial houses. So now there is no distinction between, in our spirituality, the celestial canopy and the components of manipulating our understanding of them using the herbs, the plant life that grows on the planet. This is why people who do ancestral honor and veneration, they employ the use of herbs, things that grow out the ground, and flowers to connect you to the celestial canopy, because unmitigated by your own ideas, plants grow in accordance to and specific, very specific to light code mandates and the nativity of where they are at. Plants grow specific to where they come from. You cannot grow everything in every place. For real. For real. So King Solomon's temple is, we could discuss this, like, if we wanted to, we can exhaust all the remedies of what they would call historicity, and then we got to go into the year 586, and then we got to go to the destruction of this temple and that temple. But then this is what I think and I believe, with all due respect, I think these become fanciful stories that over time with cultural morphology have become historicity, but are mistranslations of actual practices that we participated in. Putting two pillars on a porch and calling one side, one pillar, Boaz, is one of the most interesting motifs ever if you understand what the word Oz means. If you know what Oz meant, and you know what strength is, and you know the power of a goat and what extispacy is, that there's a lottery system in the innards of a slaughtered animal when you ask the sequester through acts of divinity what is going to occur or portend to the future. So every religion slaughters goats. And now we are at the period right now, Christmas time. Why do you think Christmas is not a fruits and vegetable a festival? Because there are no fruits and vegetables actively growing on an abundant level to suffice during this time. So they use the most amicable and the best motif to express the fortitude of abundance, which is a goat. And people are actively participating in it and not knowing what they're doing. So the evergreen tree, the everlasting life bestowed upon those who come under the celestial components of Capricorn, if you know Capricorns, that tuned in specific to the survival of the time, when it's the time to collect and culminate what has been harvested. So they portend to be, and oftentimes express themselves as far more what I would say conservative during this part of the year. You'll find Capricorns have saved their money during the summertime. With other signs, they, when the sun comes out, the fun comes out. For real. Everybody start tripping like, what? I'm going to be all right. You heard? So we learn a lot from these symbols, several symbols. So now, this is an ill book. This is one of the illest books that I ever read. On the mystical shape of the Godhead, basic concepts in the Kabbalah, Gershom Scholem. If you want to understand some motifs connected to, see, we don't understand many times, Brother Rich, that we all occupy, we're not living in a historical reality. We're living in a mythic reality. And that we are lucky to have the most ancient connection to myth, because as the names change, the symbols don't. So we are the ones who made up the symbols. So when you call me a name that they used to call me a god by this name, but then over time it started becoming a derogatory term, and then in front of your eyes, I found out what it meant back in the day, and now we started using it. Now everybody else wants to use this term. You heard?
Mhm. Mhm.
To show their authenticity. Hey, can I use that term? Can I use the N word? Nacho cheese? You heard? You feel me? So everybody want to play. Okay, play. Let's play the game. You heard? So this is another excellent book, The Ancient Near East. And this is one of my favorite authors, Pritchard, you heard? Legend, you heard? So this is volume 2. Now they show you, and they'll be having in there Akkadian letters, divine revelations, prophecies, Sumerian wisdom text, and then they actually show you words and nuances where these terms and these ideas and concepts wound up inside of your religious text. And this is crazy because this shows the argument with the pilgrims with inside that they was having, like, where is King Solomon's temple truly at? This is a marvel, the mystery of the great Zimbabwe, decoding the secrets of one of the most extensive, impressive, and extraordinary ruins anywhere in the world. An architectural, archaeological, and historical account. You heard? So, I don't really show all books. I just come and be freestyling on them. You heard? And then this another one. I received this from one of my students for my birthday, The Hermetic Art of Memory.
Mm.
And when you get in here, this tells you and shows you, as long as we are carefully notate the forms and shadows, we can easily retrieve from our memory anything we wish to remember. But what we still need to discuss is the modification of words in which regard, even if, look, verbal inflection. So it teaches you that we had this concept of memory that the world inherited from Timbuktu. Whoever has the memory has the trestle board. Whoever, this is why it's so venerated to be a hafiz in the Islamic world. If you can memorize the Quran, you can get all your family in heaven. You heard? So it shows you the art and the meaning of memory. And don't let your memory slip from you. Don't this. And I'm telling people, everybody, you got everybody in the culture. You want to party, you want to have fun, you want to drink alcohol. You heard? You want to give all your memories to the internet. You heard? And I'm like this, you better be careful because who you are is connected to your memory. And you cannot turn off your ability to, you can claim and reprint, you can digitally, biochemically 3D print your own brain back together using new neural pathways that you haven't occupied before. So this is King Solomon's temple. You heard? The ability to know, you can close your eyes and map out where you are in contradistinction from where you want to be. That's King Solomon's temple. You heard?
Mm. Right.
Now, if somebody wants to have a historical conversation, I guess, I don't want to go backwards. You heard? I'm good on
Right.
that. For real, I'm good on the backwards talking and stuff. And then if anybody wants to get inundated with the information, if you don't got part 2 of the Dog Star series or 3, tap in. For real.
How do they get it, eh?
Well, I have an exclusive product that's handmade. So people have to, I know everybody that has one of my books or that is awaiting a book. So they got to hit me on the Instagram. It's the AA Rashid Art. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna hit my little brother and I'm gonna put up a link and I'm gonna put it on that'smyson.com and I'll put it up tomorrow that people can tap right in if they want to get it from the website. But I got a few books left and I'm about to do new plays and I don't want to just because there's a newfound interest because of popular culture in the subject area. I don't want to be that guy that wants to force it down everybody's throat, making them think that I know everything when was having this discussion years ago. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
you know, you know. So if they find me on the Instagram and they got Cash App or Zelle, one of them things, we could go direct like that. But that, and then this other book I want to show them. This has been one of the most significant books in my life. The Star of Deep Beginnings.
I never got that book, A. I was supposed to get it mad times. Is that good, huh?
Yo, it's fire, bro. Fire.
Mm,
Promise you. The Dr. Charles Finch is a genius. For
mhm.
real. And I seen him do speaking online, and I can see the look at this. Look at all of the notes I took. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look how intense my note taking is. And this is the book I had in prison. I will not sell this. I brought this home with me. You
Mm,
heard? For real. So I'm like, when I seen him with my notations, you heard? My cross-referencing, a lot of dog style come out of this, right?
mm,
The myth of matter, the unity of consciousness in the Dogon world system, bro. Come on,
mm,
bro. We talking religion. Talking religion. Who are y'all talking about?
mm,
The Star of Deep Beginnings, the genesis of African science and technology is my spirituality. You heard? There's
mhm.
no distinguishing that. We didn't need a NASA. NASA needed us.
Whew.
Promise, promise you. Promise you.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love they're heroes of their science, Isaac Asimov and them. They've all, Carl Sagan and all of them, they have written down, they have recorded, their gods of their science have recorded and tried to openly disclaim our genius. They said that some French people must have came and walked up on Africans in Mali and drew out the designs of their cosmology. You heard? They
Crazy.
taught them. Some French speakers taught them.
Yeah.
Africans in Mali went all the way over there to teach them. When we know in the modern era that when the pilgrims and them first walked up, Ditterline and Griot on the Dogon misled them purposely for 16 years and was giving them fake rituals. Yeah,
Woo.
fake rituals, fake doing fake shit just to see where they was at for 16 years.
Yikes.
Yeah. Come on, come on, for real. So, so I'm
Hey,
like,
hey, yeah, good, brother. Yeah. Now this was the classic AA that we've been. This is man. You went off tonight. You got everybody out here taking notes tonight. You got thousands of people all over the world taking notes, my brother. I appreciate this level of intellect that you
that's
displayed tonight.
beautiful. And this is another one. This is for my deeper students, the ones who really want to go there, right? You need this book, The Zillitor.
Mhm.
This is one of the versions, The Zillitor. Yeah. And then this dude, David Overson, is a beast because he's the one that did the secret architecture of our nation's capital, right? So the African American has to wake up and understand totally that they have a deep spiritual tradition that encompasses a knowledge of not only Native American sciences, but you got West African sciences, you got sciences from Mali, you got traditions that you have created so many innovations that have made people's life easier during the most servitude. You some of the most giving people in the world. And we are not. My culture is not black men and women arguing on the internet. My culture is not somebody that sing raps to the ghetto getting killed in the ghetto. That's not my culture. My culture is not nobody playing with the ancient spirituality, the nuances that they may possess internally on the external world just to be seen. And I hang out with those who have licentia, who have been initiated to even speak about higher spiritual concepts. I don't hang out or commiserate. If somebody ain't talked to me in the last 90 days, then or text or call, I don't really know you. You need to stop walking around acting like we know each other for real. That we contemporaries because we not. Word is bond. So I use my sciences to advance the to also speak to the less fortunate and to help people in a way that they may not know, that consciousness is about character and about the ability to maintain a relationship over 30 goddamn years.
Mm.
Have you ever been with somebody that when during a Saturn return? That's really when, if I
Ooh.
love you, if I know you, and I don't want to see you under that type of pressure. You feel me? With all this fly by night shit online and everybody fake woke. You heard? Anybody come around me and tell me what the pilgrim is doing? I don't want to hear nothing about fake corn, fake 3D printed steaks, none of that shit. Let me hear about how we gonna get a few dollars. You feel me? How are you supporting Brother Rich? You heard? That's what's important to me. I don't want to hear about nobody problems with nobody. You heard? And I don't want to hear about nobody, what you call it, what's that shit, relationship shit that you really in a relationship with yourself. I see you got that good hoodie on,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna
Black
say
Dot.
right now, I am, shout out to Black Dot and Malcolm, the whole family over there at the legends with the legends. Promise you, I am brilliant, I am abundant. I am a friend to Brother Rich. I am on the Black Magic 363 show tonight. A legend. I feel good. I am love. You feel me? I am king. For real. Promise you. Shout out to Dot. That's my big
Facts.
homie.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Family, I want to take a few questions before we get out here. Make sure you hit up AA's Instagram and get the brother's books. The brother books is thorough, super thorough. I've been reading them for over the last 15 years, man. The brother's books is super thorough. So make sure y'all get his book, Dog Star Hip Hop Part 1, Part 2, and everything else the brother got. But give us some questions. We're gonna get out of here soon, brother. Brother Rich got to get out of here soon. Give us some questions. The brother just gave, man, the brother just dropped heavy gems on us tonight. So I want to thank the brother for that. I want to thank the Saint Remy LeBeau. Earlier, you won a ticket. We had 3 available tickets. Somebody, an anonymous person, donated 3 tickets to the workshop. Shout out to Saint Remy LeBeau who won the ticket. Uh, the next show, I'll be giving out the other 2 tickets. The next show, family. So y'all can stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, like I said, let's get to a few questions, a couple of questions from the family before we get out of here. Let's see what y'all talking about. It was heavy tonight. It was heavy tonight. This was some advanced stuff tonight. This was some advanced stuff tonight. Uh let's see. What's up with your questions though? I need some questions. Okay, let me see what's this here. Is this a question what were books he began with a young conscious student? I mean, y'all gotta type better questions. It'd be like I don't know what the fuck y'all be talking about sometime. We gonna get to another question. Yeah. Okay, yeah, all right, Ashe. What does he think about the animals circling lately? I've seen that on the internet. Hey, any input on that?
What's that?
There's like videos of people standing still and the animals just going in circles for hours and hours. They just circling. So people trying to figure out is there, they got that GPS shit. They connect it so they start doing things when they sense something. So people trying to figure out what that may mean.
Yeah, that the activity of circling is in all beings on this planet. Don't end up in jail, and you can actually see how you run circles, how you've been running circles in your hood. Humans act cyclically. In the jail, when you get modified, you start spinning in what they call a yard, and then you look and you see there's directionality, and then there's magnetic fields. So animals, they have video during the Islamic religious festival where birds actually make prostration like Muslims in praying, because there's energy fields being generated from circling. So you hear this in the Hebrew when you hear terms like bel or lub lub or doubling or kal. You heard those are also like celestial terms speaking about how you see, why do they call the dog star the dog star? Because it does things that dogs do.
Mm.
Dogs. George Clinton said. The shout out to George Clinton. I seen him at Art Basel. George Clinton said a dog that will chases his own tail will get dizzy or it will be busy. You heard?
Yeah.
Like this. So that's what the ancients used to. They used to associate celestial occurrences where the star starts here, then it ends up over time to be right where it started. That's what dogs do. So if you feed a dog it, you can take it and lose the dog. The dog will swim across the goddamn a lake, walk all the way back home and find its way back to us. So do birds. You know what I'm saying? So when people see stuff like that, but also there are phenomena like when I was in Miami, they're like birds of prey in the Wynwood area that just spin around. And I'm like, you be like, oh, look at the herus. You know, we just go with references that we know. You
Yeah.
know, we be like, oh, look, the deities know I'm here. Here's the birds. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I knew it was going down. Look at the birds. But then you think, what are they actually doing? What are they commiserating on or about? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when you see animals do observable constants, that is associated to magnets or light codes or both. And that's
Mm.
the answer.
Indeed. Um, what book can I get as a beginner?
Um, beginner means a lot, you heard? Because I seen people begin with advanced books and think that they sharp, but then they really don't get the real crux of the issue till they get a simplified version of it. So I I had saw years ago that I seen a few books on the Nipsey Hussle list of books. He had a book that I think everybody should read to get over, to get the religious pressure off your shoulders if you're a true beginner. Three Magic Words by U.S. Anderson, right? And I read that book, and it reminded me of like it remind me of a kind of conservative like cleaned up version of like a Hilton Hotima man's higher consciousness, you know, stuff like that. But the real book that people need to really write is the book of emotional intelligence. Write your book and remember how you felt when you felt the worst. When you didn't feel good, remember how you felt and make a notation of that. And then remember that you crazy if you keep doing the same shit that makes you feel like that again. Before
Mm.
you try to be deep with people, you want to be in the community. You heard get your feelings hurt when shit don't go the way you go or the way you want it. You gotta really just create because a book really means in Hebrew the word book can also mean sefer or cipher. Your book is the people that be around you. Your cipher around you is your book. So who are you? You heard?
Mm.
Everybody think that's just because we write books that everybody thinks that they could write a book too. That's wild. I'll be like, that's interesting. When people tell me they about to write a book and I know you don't know shit, I inside giggle and I say, wow, what the fuck are you writing about? You heard? And then I'll be like, oh, okay. You just want to express yourself. You heard? I said, okay, I get it. Well, you don't need an audience to do that. You feel me? For real. You should have some experiences and some I tell young people, especially young men, you need to read opportunistically. You need to be reading books that can give you power to manipulate things around you. Not abuse, but manipulate. Manipulate is not a bad word. For real. So you ain't got no business um being if you if you wear dirty ups, right? And you don't get haircuts, I don't think you should be deep. You heard? I think you should master how to get you some clean uptowns and get you a haircut. You heard? And then try to manipulate humans. You heard, with the deep shit and like this, like this. I don't want to hear about reptilians. I don't want to hear about the MSG, the GMOs, the what's that shit? The trip pandemic. They got 3 new diseases coming down. Yo, man, man, baby.
Man. Let's get to the next question. You crazy nigga said if you ain't got cleanups. Oh
Yeah.
man. Let's get to shout out to Karain. She says, please give us a short summary of the tetragrammaton pentagram. The pentagram.
I decline. I don't want to participate in that. We did that before. We did a whole thing on that. That's Googleable stuff. You heard? I just got finished
Mm.
talking about some deep sciences. For real. With all due respect. For real.
Next question. What's the true significance of the numbers 369?
That's rudimentary. That question. The person should go to something. It's called numbermatics.com. Like Illmatic,
Yeah.
numbermatics. And go look it up. Go look up 369. Go see if it's a prime composite number, and then see the how many divisors it has, and then you connect its significance to something movable in the universe surrounding you. For real.
Next question. What is the best way to remember our ancient selves?
Um, you go look at a picture of your grandmama and them, and set up altars and speak to people who know how to speak to the ancestors. Because we oftentimes think we some specialized individual, and you just a subproduct, a subset of multiple people just incarnating for the desire of being here. To extend the sequence of time. So the ancient self is your grandmama and them. You the new iteration of them. You know.
Mhm.
For real.
Is the Bible a book of allegory of the human mind and emotions?
The question that you ask questions and you have answers inside of your question.
Ask him about autism and misdiagnosis.
Autism comes from the
Don't
from my study, it could come from the second
don't
trimester of the pregnancy.
don't
It,
say that. Don't. Hey. Don't say that word where they're gonna take the video down. You know what I'm talking about, right?
which one?
The
No, 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 no,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah.
I don't. We grown. I'm 48, bro. I'm like this. Yeah, autism come from the second. This is what the science says. It
Mhm,
could be during the pregnancy, the second trimester, if there's an infection in the vaginal infection during the second trimester of the pregnancy, it could create offset enzymes inside of the baby's stomach. You heard?
mhm,
And the first mind, of course, is in the stomach. You
mhm,
understand? So they already have science, and they have studies on it where they have what's called fecal transplants, where whatever that fecal matter was created when the child was in that second trimester and is born in, they start operating out of the thought process and the biological process that was established then. The fecal transplant changes whatever what do they call them, the biotics, or the nature of the stomach, the things that enzymic reactions to the stuff you eat, they have to transplant and to create a whole new one. You heard? So
mhm,
they noticed that after that, the children become, see, people who have children with autism, sometimes you let the medical establishment make you think that it's over with, and it's not. It's nutrition and mad therapy. You know what I'm saying? And low key, but because I'm grown now, I didn't know this, but as a kid, we was growing up with young people that had autism, and we didn't know what to call it. We
Didn't
would
know
just
it.
be like,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd be like, so and so is this whatever, off or different, or unique or whatever in that respect. But now we have the information to know what it is. So anyone who has a child who has an accelerated ability to process stimulus, you heard, the parents should know that it's connected to the microbiomes in the stomach. You heard? And there's studies on it right now, for real,
Mm,
for real. And it's not, nobody should be ashamed. You heard?
mm, mm,
Especially if you gotta be, you gotta have a lot of humility in your own life to accept the reality as it expresses itself. So an accelerated mind is not the worst thing that can happen to a human. If you want to, we do you want to slow stuff down? Like, you got to really think about that. You know what I mean?
Facts. No,
Real.
definitely, my brother. Next question. How do we enhance our mind-heart connection?
Well, um, mind. Your answers in your question. I will ask you, what does mind mean to you, and what does heart mean to you? Is it your organ, or is your mind uh, and the heart the same? Is your mind the center? You know, people, people. Oh, I wish I could ask these questions when I was in my 20s to myself in the future. You heard?
Mm,
And I
mm,
would say the same thing. Your answer is in your question.
mm. Oh, let's get to
And I
this.
will add this though too to them. When you say mind and heart, you're speaking about one place where the mind could be is in your brain, but your mind also exists in 7 brains. Your whole body has brains. Your heart has a brain right next to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It got its own set of neurons, the heart, right?
Yes, it's right by the hypothalamus, and then it's connected to your heart's connected to your throat. It's connected to your mind and your stomach and your bread basket, your adrenal glands,
Mm,
and your the scrotum, the the women, for the women, their ovaries. Is even brains. Those are little brains. You
mm,
heard? If you look at them, they have cortexes around them. They
mm,
think from them. You know what I'm
mm,
saying?
mm. Indeed, my brother. Next question. How do you improve your memory?
Reading,
Mm,
reading, and memorizing things like the tree of life, being able to navigate the tree of life, and also at night, retrace your day. A lot of us, we have days that segue into the next day because you don't recap the day and you don't make yourself the winner at the end of your day before you go to sleep, and then you call them nightmares. For real. If somebody do something crazy to you during your day, you have to excuse their poverty and then laugh and go to sleep. That's good exercises for the brain. Because if you don't do that, your brain, to save you, will start forgetting things and then start forgetting everything. You
mm,
heard?
mm.
For real.
Deep, deep.
All that trauma. And then y'all listen to music with words in it. So I'm like this. We got the only culture that has music that the participants, they kill each other, they kill each other, kill each other every song. They kill each other every song. So I'll be like, man, if y'all don't cut that bullshit off, you need to cut that off and listen to jazz. You heard?
Facts. Yeah, I need to listen to more jazz. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. I
It's like a
definitely.
Q-tip. It's like a Q-tip, bro. I'll be hip hopped out. I don't want to hear none of that shit no more.
So you just on the jazz now, huh?
Jazz, and like only my interested homeboys that can actually do the raps. You heard? Not, I don't
Mm.
even want to hear no new music for real.
Yeah, you know what's one of my favorite joints, man? The Narcos theme song.
Wow.
That it's like that. What form of Spanish music is that? I know they got bachata, merengue, salsa. I hope I'm saying it right. But who could tell me what is that? The Narcos theme music. What form of Spanish music is that? I'm trying. I need to figure out if we got any Latinos or Latinas.
Shout out to Chalino Sanchez. He's a
Uh,
legend for
in-
real.
indeed,
Chalino
indeed.
Sanchez is a legend for real. But you
So,
know that narrative of music with the Narcos music, some of the traditional roots. If we were to look at it anthropologically, the Narcos would go get the MC and tell them to come, and they'll tell them little parts of the story, and then they will come, and then they will express themselves and tell the story to them in song about their tribulations, their rise and their falls. You know what I'm saying? I know that to be
indeed.
a tradition. So That's real interesting. The alchemy of humanity.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, for real. Yeah, shout out to Decode. Decode said it's called Bolero. I guess Bolero. So
That's
I'm gonna look that up. I wrote that down. I'm gonna look that up. Hey, you seem like the type of person. Hey, do you write the way your mind works, my brother? Very interesting mind. Do you write with both hands? Are you ambidextrous? You seem like the type of brother that use both hands to write or something like that. Like,
well. I'm gonna tell you this.
flex.
I'm gonna tell you this. When I'm right-handed, but I can draw,
Yeah.
so that gives me access to both sides of my mind.
Uh.
And I know people who can write but can't draw, and you can see it inside of their writing.
Mm,
So they have a overwhelming compensation for the use of adjectives and word forms and stuff like that. Where I write like a conversation. People
mm,
with my books can almost hear my voice while they're reading them. You know what I mean? As I talk directly to a specific concept. And my books don't even actually have a narrative spine. They more or less have the context for an ongoing conversation, you know, where
mm.
I'm conversating about a theme, and then in the traditional way of like how Bobby teach. I remember years ago Bobby had started on a topic and teach so much out of the topic, had to remind you about how we even got there. You
Mm,
heard? And
mm.
then it brings it all home like this. So, I tend to do that. But I also know that teaching is not just running your mouth. Reverend Valentine teaches that the word lecture means to read off of a paper, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the age of people just being able to stand up and just run that mouth, you could see it's like you could see the um the negative effects of streaming music on music. It made the process lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody got to go to the studio and pay for studio time or mic up instruments in an orchestra hall. So now you could just do and you could be a celebrity in in the living room. You heard like this,
Yeah.
boom, with the and make a song. But the process of what that entails, you can see that it's diminished from the process. Even the songwriting, they just get right to the worst part of the human experience. There's no build up. There's no love in the narrative like it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's crazy.
Indeed, indeed. Let's we're gonna end it now. Brother Rich got to get out here. Hey, I want to thank you once again for
Thank
coming
you.
on the show. Any last things? Yo, hey, real quick, do you watch Math Hoffa? You watch his show, his podcast?
I used to watch the brother when they used to do the battle rapping, and I'm very aware that he does have a podcast.
Real,
Yeah.
real good podcast. Styles P was on the other day. I was watching that episode, but good
Shout out to
podcast.
Styles. Yeah, the brothers is legends. I like the fact that the brothers got media from that sector to let the young people know and the people, all everybody involved, that there's a face of intelligence even in the sectors that people have forgotten about in regards to the street. You know.
They was talking about real quick. This is the last thing I want to ask you. They was talking about we come from different eras of hip hop. Um, they was talking about Big, somebody you grew up around, and Styles said something that I always say I agree with 1,000%. I think Big, if we're gonna talk about hip hop culture, I think Big was the greatest to ever do it in the short amount of time he lived. I've never seen nobody as versatile as he was, and I agree with Styles when Styles said "Life After Death." That's my favorite album of all time. What's your thoughts on Big being the greatest ever? Like
Well,
ever out of anybody? What's your thoughts on that? Very curious to know, my brother.
um, posthumously, he's the greatest when he was alive, and then I still see him greatest posthumously. There are other people who are passed away untimely, and their work, even if they had more work than him, it doesn't rival the influence in regards to he made a very direct conduit that people didn't have no access to. So people didn't know that there was a high-end street person that um You talking the FDR highway, you talking 850s, you talking Averex jackets, you talking Harlem, you know, dudes was smoking $400 jars of weed in Harlem and years ago. You know, New York used to be a different place. You know, Brooklyn, you know, people was wearing Hermes and designer back in the day and nobody knew what it was, Burberry and all that. And I think Big spoke to a sector of humans who was getting it how they lived, and they was trying to put on a high level. And it's so many intricate narratives connecting real life to the entertainment that was provided. I could see him being in the minds of a person like Style P. Plus, Style P did some of the illest work with Big. A lot of people did fake songs with Big. They really was around Big, for real. Shout out to Jada Kiss. I seen him when I was in, and you know, I know Jada Kiss through my mom's, you heard? So these are people that used to be around Big. He know me to know that I, you know, I could be on if I could talk, I could speak to Little C's if I want to. You know what I'm saying? These are my folks and all that. So yes, he is the greatest, but this is another thing I see him being the greatest. Posthumously, as he no longer here physically, but sometimes you can't go a whole day without seeing an image of Big. That's crazy.
That's interesting.
The ubiquitous image of him, it just means so many things. And then you could show the picture. Like my daughter wanted a Biggie t-shirt, and I'm like, you don't know nothing about that. Not one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's interesting, but it show you we have no beginning nor end, man.
Indeed.
Thank you.
No doubt. Leave your contact info one more time, my brother. I need them to support you, and I need them to get your book, my brother.
Well, if they noble and they really about that, you know, they could go right to that Cash App. That Cash App is official. Cash
let me.
App
I didn't put it up.
It's AARASHID art with that $ in the front. For real. They could get the book, and I'm telling you, spend a few dollars. I'm gonna send you a gift. For real. For real. Promise you that oh shit, son. I heard the sound. You a legend. You heard? Heard the sound.
That fast, huh? That fast.
It's legendary. This show you doing the right thing. You know what I mean? I appreciate you, King. For real.
No doubt. No doubt.
Shout out to Virgos. Virgos in the building. Saving the world. Helping us. For real. Raise our frequency. Become better people. You know what I mean? Virgo power. Scorpio, Virgo power connect.
Yo, that dope, man. Yo, it was a pleasure having you on here, my brother. Make sure you hit up the brother's Cash App. Brother Rich, AA Rashid. We get out of here, family. Thanks for tuning in, family. Peace.
Peace, God.